In this episode, we talk reverse engineering and protecting the downside. This is Aidan Rees-Heron, and you're watching Property Geek TV episode 33. Very exciting, busy week ahead. Just had a very good call off with my business partner Josh. We might have a big piece of land up for grabs, so things are moving forwards pretty quickly. I see many of you are quite busy over the weekend and the last few weeks. Thank you very much for getting in touch. Please keep sending your questions in, and exciting news directly for you guys. I'm thinking of doing a live episode of Property Geek TV. Facebook Live is starting to kick off. I'm very excited by it. And I think it would be great to have a live chat with many of you. You can ask your questions, and we can just have a little bit of an impromptu session. So looking at doing a live session later this week. Let me know your thoughts on that. I'd be keen to hear them. So without further ado, by the way, Leo, great edit on the last session. I really enjoyed that. I think round of applause for you. I really enjoyed it, so let's keep going. Enjoying this new working arrangement that we've got. Josh's hand, as you can see, isn't here. We're just like imaginary hand to pick the question out. Cool. I'm new. Where do I start? Well, the question firstly is, where do you want to get to? I think this is something that I'm starting to do now actively with the guidance of some mentors that I've got and some business advisors. Okay, is reverse engineer what you want to achieve. So where do you want to get to? What do you want to achieve? And then reverse engineer. So, I don't know, for instance, if you're looking for a quick way to replace your income but have residual cash flow every month because you want to spend more time with your family, or you want to go traveling or something like that, then you need a highly leveraged not leveraged capital wise, but you need to time leverage portfolio of cash flowing assets. So you only have to buy a few to replace your income, and then you can leverage out the management of this thing to somebody else, pay them a little bit, okay, but then that means that the residual income keeps coming into you. If you want to build a cash reserve pot to leverage for capital later down the line for more exciting business ventures, like me, then potentially you should be looking more down the commercial route, okay? Because a good commercial portfolio provides good security and good leverage to raise finance further down the line. But it's also, it's also a little bit more effort at the front end, but you get big rewards at the back end. So it's just a question of where do you want to go, and then reverse engineer. I think the concept of having to start on single lets, move up to HMOs, move up to service accommodation, that's what I used to think it was like, with my background, my family's background, okay, and what everybody else in the industry talks about, okay, but in reality, all you have to do is reverse engineer where you want to get to long term, okay, and then take the right steps to get there. There's no reason why you can't immediately move into cash flowing assets. There's no reason you can't immediately move into commercial developments like we're starting to move into. We don't have any experience in that, and we can see that, and the business partners I'm working with, new to property. Okay, but we're moving into that space simply because we're reverse engineering where we want to get to in 10, 20 and 30 years time. So that's what I recommend you do too. God, that felt good. Okay, another question. Okay, question. What is due diligence? It's the effort you put in at the start to make sure you don't get bitten in the arse later on. That's pretty much it, right? Due diligence is different for every project that you do, but it's also very similar. It's checking the history, finding out the information you can, reviewing the marketplace, okay, doing all of those things, basically trying to make sure to mitigate the risk in this investment. Okay, if you've got an investment here, you don't just like pile into it, although some people do, and then they tend to do very well in a bullish market, in a rising market. okay, and then they just pile in, and the reason they pile in and they highly leverage, okay, is because it's a rising market like we're in now. Okay, they do very, very well, but you need to make sure that you minimize the downside, and due diligence is about minimizing the downside. If there's a high amount of risk, then you need to be prepared for that further down the line, because it can come around to bite you in the backside. Okay, make sure that you are checking the market, make sure you understand the market space, make sure you've wondered what if the market swings, what if interest rates go up, what if I can't get a tenant inside if you're doing a resi, what's my second, third and fourth exit for this project going to be. Okay, you need to do all those things to make sure that you are protecting the downside. One of my business partners, Gary, loves to talk about protect the downside, and that's why we do targeted commercial now, where we have a buyer in place before we start the project, because it protects the downside, right? So you just have to do the work at the front end to make sure that there's no surprises at the back end. It's like, do you want to fight fires? Do you want to? It's like preventative. Someone's shouting outside. That's the sort of place I live in and work in. Do you want to prevent an illness or problem now? Okay, it's a little bit more work, or it feels like a little bit more work, but in the long run, okay, you have less problems later to deal with. Okay, it's like preventative rather than reactive. And that's what due diligence is for. What it is different on every situation, right? Whether it's, you know, we've spoken about it, right? Is the property overpriced? Is there anything risky in the legals on the property? Is there any problems with the unit? Subsidence, partition wall problems, you know, you just do the due diligence. The best part is you can leverage other people to do that if you build the right team around you. So that's what due diligence is. I think maybe a third question. Maybe? Nah. We'll stick to just doing one question, because so, question of the day. Question of the day, what results do you want and how will you reverse engineer those?